Good evening, everyone. Did you know that 67% of hiring managers say that they can spot an AI written cover letter in only seconds? Now, if you put those same managers in a blind test, putting letters in front of them with no labels, nearly 82% of them get it wrong. And that was from a study that was done with a blind test with over 1,000 recruiters. That gap between what recruiters believe about their own radar and what actually happens the moment you test it is pretty much the entire episode tonight, because the real risk with your cover letter was never getting caught by a detector. The risk for this piece of the puzzle is sounding exactly like the 40 other applicants who copied and pasted the same job description and used the same tool and hit send, and now a human being has to look through all of those. So you want to stand out. So tonight we're not necessarily going to teach you how to hide the fact that you used AI. It's not an inherent problem with that. We're going to teach you what the recruiter's brain is actually scanning for in the 7 seconds that they give you, and how you can give them exactly what they're looking for on purpose with AI, or now that you have the skills, you can do it on your own, and you can hit that mark every single time. So if you're here, congratulations for showing up for yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. Please join us in the comments so I know that you're looking for a job or that you're just learning this information and we can support you. If you've ever used AI to help you write a cover letter or a resume before, maybe from our previous episodes, then feel free to drop like a little robot or AI comment in the chat so we know that you're on board with using this to work smarter and not harder. And if it's your first time here, or you've been following along with us, welcome back to Vitality Social Network. My name is Melon, and I am your host tonight. We have been doing a series on how to use AI to get a job. This is episode 3 of AI in your career. We did start initially at the beginning of this series talking about the 3 filters every application passes through: the ATS, the AI sourcing layer, and the human recruiter, and how to find a job that is a good fit for your skills specifically. In episode 2, we went deeper on that first filter and fixed your resume for it so that you're more likely to rank highly in the list, so you're not being missed by a recruiter even though you have great experience. And then tonight, we're looking at the one document in your entire application that is still supposed to sound like an actual person and not like a robot wrote it. So that's the exact moment when everyone applying against you is using a similar tool to write it. So you really need to learn how to stand out. And I will tell you from personal experience that ATS is the applicant tracking system. That's basically like the AI software that takes all of the keywords from your resume or your cover letter and determines if it lines up with the job description and what the hiring manager is looking for. And then it ranks you or ranks everyone on a list from 0 to 10. And the closer you are to 10, you're going to be at the top of the list of applicants. So if a hiring manager is going through one by one all of their applicants, you want to be towards the top. I have personally used my own resumes, and even though, honestly, I'm very experienced, my resumes were maybe only at like a 50%, so that's why I wasn't getting callbacks. And that's what I wanted to tell you where I'm at. So I actually have experience being the hiring manager. I've spent a lot of time looking at hundreds, maybe even thousands of applicants. I can tell when people spent the time on their resume versus uploading a generic one. Same with the cover letter. When there's one that stands out and is a little bit different and shows more personality or more effort, it breaks the repetition of clicking through dozens of people and it stands out. So it absolutely is worth your time to spend 2 or 3 extra minutes, using an AI tool or just working on the process yourself to make your resume more effective and make yourself stand out. I also, unfortunately, because of this job market, despite having, a decade of amazing experience, several months ago, I was laid off for my job. And I love the position I have now, but I am working a little bit beneath my ability. And associated, a little bit beneath my pay. And while I love it, gives me opportunities to work on my own passions, projects, live stream with you guys. I'm trying to figure out what I can do better in order to pass the new AI tools that are filtering everybody out, including me. I want to stand out to the human that I'm applying for. So as I learn these skills, I'm going to share them all with you all and also put in my personal feedback from what stood out to me as a hiring manager. So here's the tension that is driving tonight's episode. 94% of hiring managers say a cover letter influences their interview decision. 94%. That's basically all of them. So 60% of companies require one outright. And even when a posting says optional, 72% of hiring managers still expect or want to see one. Just because you don't have to apply a cover letter doesn't mean you shouldn't if you actually want the job, if you actually want to stand out and show how you're different. So, cover letters are a dead narrative. Maybe you've heard, you can quick apply with Indeed, just use the tools that are available. That is wrong for most people. What has actually changed is not whether cover letters matter, it's that everyone is almost using the same handful of AI tools to write them, which means the letters are starting to sound identical. And that's a completely different problem than the one most advice is solving for. So we are going to have several unique AI prompts today that we can share with you on how you can make your cover letter above and beyond the rest of the pack that is using generic AI prompts to write their cover letter. So here's what we're covering tonight specifically. First is the two readers framework. There are 5 rules to strip the robotic tell signs out of anything that an AI drafts for you. We're going to do a live demo of the draft and then humanized method. So we're going to take your input, your actual interests, your personalities, your skills. You do have to feed it with that information a little bit. We're going to take that first draft and then humanize it. So whatever the AI tool gave us, even, first pass, how can we make it even more effective so that when a person looks at it, you will stand out? We'll do our typical real or hype section, our I can't think of the word, I'm sorry, but the section that we do every single episode where we can determine whether recruiters can actually detect AI. We'll come up with a stat and we'll talk about if it's real or hype. And we'll also do a company tone deaf matching demo that builds directly on the research prompt that we did from episode 1. And then we have 3 prompts to fix your cover letter tonight. So this is going to be a very well-rounded episode, but I promise you that it's not going to take too long to get through. We're going to hit it quick. We're going to work through it. And then you're going to have some real prompts that you can pick from to fix your own cover letter in a matter of 10 minutes. So it might take a minute for me to explain these things and show you and tell you the reasoning behind it. 30, 45 minutes, shouldn't be too long. And then once you take those key points away, you can apply this process very quickly, a matter of minutes. So first, we're going to go ahead and start with the core concept for tonight. Your cover letter gets read twice and by 2 completely different readers. So that's the 2 readers framework. And almost nobody writes for both of them. So again, both the software and then the person. When your company loads your cover letter into the same ATS, applicant tracking system, that scans your resume, it gets parsed for keywords. That means it's going to pull out all of the information. Same way we talked about, you have to have effective formatting so that it can pull out all of that information. But this is important. Cover letters are weighted much lower than resumes in most ATS platforms. So at many large employers, your cover letter is not even opened until after your resume has already cleared that automatic screening. That's why that's a critical part of the step. So a brilliant cover letter cannot necessarily rescue a resume that fails the keyword match. That work has to happen first, and that's what we covered in the last episode, episode 2. But reader 2, that's the human being that will eventually look at your application. That is where almost all of the actual leverage is. So when a recruiter does read your cover letter, they're not scanning it only for keywords like the AI is doing. They are looking for basically two things almost exclusively. So first is your personal motivation. Why are you applying for this job at this time? Or, why do you have a change in your career? Why is this a good fit for you? Why are you passionate about the company? So tell me a little bit more. And then also the clarity of your writing. So, do you come across as passionate? Do you come across as detail oriented? Are you eloquent? Can you speak for yourself? Or do you sound kind of boring and generic? I'll just put it that way. So that's what we're going to try to help you with tonight. And here's the research that should really change how you used AI for this document specifically, your cover letter. So some economists at Tilburg University ran a controlled study. They took real job seekers, some were given to ChatGPT access, some were not, and then their cover letters were evaluated blindly by recruiters at major companies. So that's like Philips, PwC, Vodafone, several. And the finding is that AI does not genuinely improve the letters. Your spelling might go up, your grammar might go up, your generic opening and close looks more polished, maybe your formatting looks more polished, but you're not really moving the needle on what it takes to actually get invited to an interview, because none of that speaks to what we just mentioned earlier, your personality, your motivation, that kind of thing. So that's what we really need to consider when we're trying to be more specific when we use AI to support us. They actually weigh personal motivation and clarity, like those two dimensions. They actually weighed them, barely improved it at all. In some cases, AI made the writing more complex and harder to read. So the problem is not, can AI write my cover letter? It's, will AI write the one paragraph that only I could have written? That's where you have to put in your personal story and then help bridge the gap, because we still understand that you want to use that tool to help it be more effective. You do want to fix those spelling errors. You do want to make sure that it's well written, grammatically correct, all of those things. We just don't want to sterilize it. We want to keep your personality. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that over the next 20 minutes. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm glad that you're here. I do want to just do a quick check-in before we get to all of our demonstrations, where I'm going to share my personal ChatGPT and some actual cover letters that I have personally seen or used. And some of them are actually going to continue upon the personality, the person, the job, the story that we used in the last episode. But before we get to that, how are you guys feeling? Are you motivated? Are you doing well on your job journey? Have you been trying to apply these skills? I would absolutely encourage you today to pull out ChatGPT or AI and follow along with us. Try it yourself. Plug in your own resume, plug in your own cover letter, and follow along with the prompts and try it. And if not right now, might be a little easier on the replay. Those people can pause and try it as they go. So maybe it's after the stream for those of you that are our real MVPs and join us live. And before I get into the demo, one last thing I want to say is, if you are enjoying this series, please, it means so much to me to like the stream or share it with a friend that would also benefit, or subscribe so you can follow along with the series. That is a vote for, you like my content and you want me to continue along with the series. So I would absolutely appreciate that. And I have one more quick question for you. So do you think that recruiters can reliably tell when a cover letter was written by AI or not? Can they tell if it was a human or if it was AI? I mean, would you be able to tell? So let me know, like A for yes pretty much all the time, or B for no or rarely, or maybe it depends. Let me know what you think. If you picked B, the actual research backs you up on that. I think, though, if it were me, that I can usually tell if something is sterilized by now, because I use AI so much. So I have learned what their type of speaking or repetition looks like. That doesn't apply to everybody. So it just depends. But the more you use this, the more you can finesse it and make it work for you. So let's go ahead and share my ChatGPT, and I can tell you 5 different things that make a cover letter read as generic, whether a human wrote it on autopilot or an AI did. So let's go ahead and share the screen. All right, thank you guys for bearing with me. Now, the first thing that you're seeing here, I wanted to share this one example of what I would consider to be a pretty generic cover letter. And we did highlight some of the key phrases that you might look for. So certainly phrases that instantly signal it's a template, whether it was AI written or not. I'm writing to express my strong interest. Like, okay. I'm a detail-oriented team player with a proven track record, and I am an excellent fit for your organization. That, replacing maybe just those 5 different pieces can drastically change if that human gives you more than 7 seconds if they continue along reading the rest of your cover letter to learn a little bit more about you, because that screams template. It screams anybody could have written this. I can't tell you how many times people write I'm detail oriented even though they like have typos later on in the rest of their resume or their cover letter. So we have to think a little bit more creatively. And then also, next, we want to have one real anecdote every letter. So a claim, not a claim, a moment, sorry, a moment. So not saying like, I'm a strong problem solver, but go above and beyond that statement to prove it. Show, I had a problem, here's what I did, and here's what happened. Or not say, I have a proven track record on driving success in the organization. But what kind of success? Show me that you know numbers. Tell me where you started. Tell me where you ended. Tell me how long it took. And be proud of the work that you've done. Think about any moments that you've been recognized for, like Employee of the Month or Most Improved or anything like that. Any recognition type of moments, or just moments that you were proud of. Make sure you give yourself credit for those stories so they have real examples rather than just abstract claims that pretty much anybody could claim, right? I mean, if you've done this before, there's no shame. We probably all have. I told you I'm here trying to learn and grow too at the moment. So I've also seen this like literally dozens of times. So if this has happened to you, no worries, but we are going to continue to teach how we can personalize and humanize this conversation so that you really stand out. And I think not having abstract claims is a big one. I also see things like this. I thrive in dynamic environments, or I'm a team player, or I'm a great leader. Could you tell me like what your responsibilities were, or how many people you led, or who you helped? Just get a little bit more specific. And then another key point is if you just leave it alone to the AI defaults, they will pretty much use the same 15 to 25 word range over and over. Whereas a real human writing has rhythm. It's a short sentence and then a longer one that carries more weight. And it sounds like an actual person who is speaking and telling their personal story that they're passionate about. So it also helps to take time to read your letter out loud. If every sentence takes the same breath, that's your tell. If you're bored halfway through, that's another great tell. They're probably going to be too. Now, rule number 4, I think I'll demonstrate as we show you. I have kind of a side-by-side comparison. So this is our first one, right? We can immediately tell, all right, sterile. And then we have an example that is after we've humanized it a little bit. So we can already see this example played out. North Star Logistics, that's the company, their emphasis on safe, Predictable operations and stronger frontline leadership immediately caught my attention. So, this is the skill where you want to use one specific true thing about the company. So, not just like, I admire your innovative culture, which could go to any company, but a real detail. So maybe that's a specific product that they sell. Maybe it's their mission statement that's on their website, and that really resonated with you, and that's why you applied. So make sure you include those things. That is the single fastest way to prove that you just did not take the same cover letter and apply it to every single job you quick applied to on Indeed. That is what's going to make you stand out, show that you're willing to take the time to do a little bit of research, and frankly, it only takes like 2 extra minutes to do that research. It's not very difficult, and it is absolutely worth your time. You also want to consider that it's pretty short and sweet. So this includes a lot of those, what to do points that we already mentioned. So we got more specific here. I lead more than 160 package handlers, and I do administrative employees. Here's part of the work that I value most. I was promoted twice in my first 8 months. That's incredible. And like I told you, I took this information. ChatGPT helped me maybe take out some key personal details, but this was an example of true cover letters I saw from this person. So the beginning that they started with, that was pretty sterile, and then this version that shows a little bit more specifically about their strengths, really. So we want to make sure that we add that human element here, but we still keep it pretty short and sweet. It gets every point hit, and we're still only on one page, really only even about a half a page, and we have showed that we understand the company, we're passionate about their mission, we are more than qualified for the job, and we have excelled at our other jobs. So we've done all of those things, and the person could still read it in under 30 seconds and decide if you're someone that they want to spend extra time calling, or if it's just like a wall of text they don't even have time for, so they move to the next one. Okay, so now I want to know from you. After hearing these few tips before we show you the next piece of the puzzle, I want to hear from you. Have you made any of these mistakes? And it's okay to be honest. Just let me know. I'm super curious. I'll even switch back to the chat for a second just to see what we find here. And then I'm absolutely going to, we're going to continue on with some other key tips. So let's see. Anybody that's here, let me know. Are you just here to learn? Have you made any of these mistakes? Are you already an expert that maybe you could be teaching my next episode? We'd love to have you as a guest. I'll come back in a minute and see who we hear from. And if you're not here on the live, you're here on the replay, feel free to comment. I read every comment. I will respond to you, and we would love to have you even engaged in our community. You can go so far as to join our group Discord and DM me directly, or send me your resume, send me your cover letter. I would be more than thrilled to help you personally with succeeding and getting that job that you want, and really selling yourself, promoting yourself, giving yourself credit for the amazing work that you've done. Because I can promise you, I've read dozens, like hundreds, thousands maybe, of applicants, and they all have room to grow. And once I get to talking to the person, I'm like, dang, I wish you had included more of that. That would have really stood out. But fortunately, I usually talk to most people either way. I'm unlike most people. I got my I'm going to be honest too. Just take a moment before I move to the next segment here. I'm exhausted today. I've had quite the long work day. I have my vitamin, energy, sugar water, and I also have a relaxation beverage. If you've got a drink and you're still committed here to being here tonight, or you're eating dinner and you're working on this because your future matters and you're dedicated to getting your dream job, I'm really proud of you for showing up and making this an important first step. And I definitely would love to have you on the rest of our series. But we're going to go ahead and continue with the next step of our live demos. So you saw, the before and after, the kind of to pass method and what they look for. Now, let's see. Okay, so now what we have is a prompt that says, here's the candidate's resume. We pasted it there. Here's the job description. And then I want ChatGPT to write a first draft cover letter between 250 to 350 words or 3 to 4 short paragraphs. Connect 2 truthful details from the resume directly to two priorities in the job description. So we have something that's true about you, we have something that's true about the job and what they're looking for, and keep out all of those generic phrases that we really don't want to see. And we'll see what it comes up with. More prompts that we can share too, but this one is live, so we'll really see what we get. Would you look at that? It looks much more similar to the humanized version that we had here that we clicked on. So it was a little bit more effective in starting off by saying, I mentioned the company, what they're looking for, that your experience aligns well because of years of working your specific job. And then you talk about your specific responsibilities, but in a way where you are promoting some specifics. So, this one has numbers, KPIs. You also continue what motivates you. You focus on engaging employees, building motivated teams, fostering an environment where people have the tools and support needed. The only thing I would add here, again, if you make it just a little bit more human, this is why I'm passionate. This is why I'm searching for this job at this time. I think this is a great, first pass, copy paste if you're just trying to move quickly. But I personally, as a human reading it, would love to hear more of your story, more of who you are, but still keeping it short and sweet and focused. This is already better than the generic prompt though, because we told it what to avoid. So that's an example of what I'm hoping you'll take away from this conversation today. We didn't get any of that generic, like anybody could write that type of opening statement or claims without details. So this is significantly better than the first draft. But we can absolutely do a second take where we intentionally take what it gave us and make it even more humanized. So now we have an effective cover letter that was written, and we copied it here. So maybe it's that one that it just wrote. We copy and paste. And then we say flag every sentence that sounds generic, like a template, like it could apply to any qualified candidate. Flag any unsupported claim and any sentence over 25 words that could be split for better rhythm. So that's definitely if you're someone like me where you like to just brain dump, then this will help you organize it and rewrite it, but still keeping it truthful details from our previous resume. Don't invent anything. So you could certainly include your resume here too. ChatGPT is on the same page as us. We've been working on this concept. So that's the great thing about your AI. If you use the same one all the time, it learns you. You can do things like switching it from auto to thinking. So if you need a more complex answer, you want it to pause and review all your previous conversations or dig deep on the internet, you can ask for it to take a little bit more time, give you a little bit more. I consistently do that when I'm saying, hey, write me a 20-page document. I want it to take the time to do its due diligence to make it well. So this says I can definitely do this, but can't complete the rewrite as requested yet because I only have the cover letter, don't have the resume. So that's the exact example of if I had taken the time to do the thinking switch and say, look at the conversations we just had. I have already given you all of this information. We've talked about it today, But on the auto, it doesn't always want to quite do that right away. It still was able to pull out a lot of the typical flags that we're looking for. So it flagged some things as generic. It flagged our unsupported claim or over 25 words again and again and again and again and again and again. And then gave me like 3 ones that did pretty good. But even this, thanks for taking the time to review my application. And it caused that, fine. It's a standard closing courtesy. And then let me tell you, this was based on what we just gave it, that we had pretty much done pretty well. Now, it did have, let's see, that first generic one, but this was written by AI. So if you had just said, hey, give me a good cover letter, this is telling you it's not actually an effective cover letter. So you need to dig a little bit deeper, try a little bit harder. And so here's what it can do. It says if you upload the resume or paste it here or remind it where it is, then it can rewrite the flagged sentences, it can replace generic language, it won't invent anything, it'll just give you credit where credit is due. And I love that. So it can tell you not only what your opportunities are, but how it can help you. So then you can say, yes, please do that. And before it does, you switch it to the more complex version of ChatGPT that you need in order to succeed. So, before I get into the next section, this can be a lot for us to process, but I hope you've already found that these are some useful skills so that if you're just taking a generic cover letter and pasting it to every job you apply to, I'm not going to say you're wasting your time, but your time could be more effectively spent so that your time is more likely to get you that callback, to get you that interview, to get you the job. So my honest question is for you to consider, based on everything we've discussed, pull up the last cover letter you actually sent and take some time to think about, how can I score this from 0 to 10? Ask ChatGPT based on this information, score it to 0 to 10. And ask yourself that one thing only that it's scoring you about. Does it contain a single detail that could only be true to you? And that's what you're voting. So you're like, 10, I nailed it. This is all unique to me. It shows so much personality, right? Whereas a 5 is like, I did have some generic words and claims, but there's a little bit of personality. It wasn't completely generic. And 0 to 1 is you just took what ChatGPT spit out the first time with a low effort prompt. So it's okay if that happened to you. If you scored low, you're not alone. That is exactly the type of gap that I'm hoping to help people with our training series. And it's the gap that tonight's Real or Hype segment is going to explain. So, for our signature segment, that is what I was looking for earlier. Signature segment is Real or Hype. This is the recurring segment that we have. So, we're going to make a claim. We're going to consider the hype or what's real, what's biased, the verdict. So you can comment real or hype, based on what you think. Tonight's claim is that recruiters can always tell when your cover letter was written by AI. So it is too risky to use it. After everything we've talked about, do you think that real or hype? The verdict is mostly hype. It's wrapped around two problems that are very real, just not the ones people think about. So let's break it down. The hype part. Most recruiters believe that they can spot AI, but surveys put that confidence anywhere from the high 60s to the high 80s%. But when researchers actually tested it blind with real cover letters, no labels, that confidence completely collapsed. So there was a blind study in 2023 where 1,000 recruiters found that 82% could not correctly identify every AI written letter that was set in front of them. And then the study that we mentioned earlier, the Tilburg University study, ran the same test under controlled conditions. So in their test, recruiters performed no better than random chance at telling which letters had AI help. So while people think that they're really good at it, they're not always. So the fear of getting caught with using AI is mostly hype. But here's what's real about it. So the same Tilburg research found something else. When recruiters were told explicitly that a letter was written without any AI help, and it was genuinely high quality, then they rated it higher than an equally good letter that they had suspected had AI assistance. So there is a real premium forming around demonstrably human work. People want human work. That makes complete sense, right? They want to see somebody's capable and driven. and we get a little desensitized to all the AI rhythm and words and verbiage. And AI mostly helps weaker writers or people that haven't written very often reach an average level. But strong writers who already write very well or speech to text very well and are very eloquent, they gain very little and they actually risk more if a recruiter suspects that the tool did the work. I've actually had people tell me, because I can write paragraphs very well written, that I have had people say to me, "Oh, you just use ChatGPT to write this? Do they always think for you?" And I was like, "Bitch, I wrote that myself. Like, what do you even mean? Like, I'm sorry that you can't write this well and you immediately assume AI, but it offended me a little bit." So I can see why you want your humanity to come across, you want to use your skills, but let AI work for you a little bit. Just understand how it's going to come across, okay? Because there is a fairness problem worth naming. Some companies are now running AI detection tools on applications. Stanford researchers tested 7 AI detection tools against essays written by non-native English speakers and found that they misclassified 61% of them as AI generated, compared to a near zero error rate on native English writing. So if your target company runs your cover letter through a detector like that, and English is not your first language, the tool itself might be working against you before a human ever reads a word. And I know that's a tough line to follow, because some people are very eloquent and very intelligent and very well written in their native language. But when you put it into AI, there's a slight chance that it reads as AI, and it's kind of unfortunate bias. So, the verdict. That whole like instant detection fear is hype. The premium on genuinely personal, specific writing, though, human writing and personal writing, is real. Like, that is valuable. And if detection tools are in play at all, just know that they carry their own biases. So that's one more reason that the fix is not necessarily hiding your process, it's making the letter unmistakably, specifically yours. So if you include those very personal details, or your personal motivation, or your personal journey, or your personal passion for the mission, then it's hard to just read that as AI. And even if they do read it as AI, they're like, okay, well, this person still has specific skills or abilities or motivation that stands out to me and makes me want to read this or makes me want to talk to them a little bit further. They just know how to use AI smartly, right? So that's where you need to have those like uber specific human details that could only be from you. Now, we have one more thing that I want to show you with the screen share, and then if anybody has any questions, start firing them off in the chat, so then we can spend some time answering your questions or your goals specifically. Let me know how many jobs you've applied to, how many you heard back from, what job you're trying to get, if you've tried using a cover letter or not. Just, let me know where you're at so we can have a conversation. But we'll go ahead and share our screen for our last segment. So this one says, here is research about the company. And then, we pasted that in a document. And the company research was similar to what we used already from episode 1. Or we could do something like, a little bit about their mission, recent news, whatever. We just need to have some information about that company, okay? Then we're also going to say, here is the job description. And then we also include the resume. So write a cover letter under 350 words that opens with one specific true detail about the company, not a generic compliment. And be sure that we connect one concrete story from my resume or my cover letter to their priorities, and it matches the tone of their own public writing, okay? So this one has the job listing, and it's going to rely on the job information from another day. So I'm going to make sure I clarify. Find in previous convos. Okay, I'm going to switch it from auto, not to instant, but to thinking, and then I'm going to send it off. And while I'm sending it off, I'm going to double check and see if we have any new comments in the chat. I would truly love to hear from you all. I also want to do just another quick invite to our group Discord because perhaps you're a little bit less confident with chatting on the live stream. Maybe you're multitasking, getting ready for bed or eating your dinner or whatever it is. Or if you're watching this on the replay, so you're like, dang, I really wanted to ask you a question, but I'm watching on the replay. You are still welcome here. You can either comment and I'd be happy to respond to you, or you can join our group Discord and DM me directly, and I'd be happy to truly help you one-on-one with achieving your goals. So, going back to this, oh my gosh, look, it's still remembering. That's crazy. I love that. We'll give it one more second. Okay, so it went through. Before I go back to it though, I do want you to consider, have you had a takeaway from today? Is there one thing that you're going to do differently or that you're going to try from all of these prompts? I would love to hear what that one takeaway was, so you could certainly let me know that as well. Now, here's what we got. Dear hiring manager, North Star Logistics emphasizes safe, accurate, and efficient performance while developing frontline leaders and hourly team members. Okay, to me, we started strong. It still sounds a little bit like meh. That combination of operational discipline and team development closely matches the experience I have built through my career. Okay, that's a strong sentence. In my current role as operations manager, I focus on keeping my area running effectively, engaging employees, ensuring they have what they need to succeed, and completing paperwork on time. I was promoted into this position after working at a lower level in the company where I was also very effective. And so, because I was so good at my job, I got a promotion, and now I'm a great fit for this job, and I have that detailed hands on experience. So, you want to be proud of that practical knowledge on the frontline distribution work and the leadership experience that you have. They go hand in hand. It shows that you're not some like high level thinker, somebody high in the clouds that doesn't really understand what the day to day is like. You can play both roles really well. And I know that the company is seeking someone who can balance all of these things, and the position requires, these specific skills. So that's going to help if it does go through some kind of like keyword analysis, right? You're like, I clearly understand what the job is looking for, and my background will allow me to contribute those priorities. So I love that. I think it could be, we got to think of our goal here. Are we trying to feed it for the ATS system, or are we trying to feed it to a human? And this one, I don't personally love reading long lists like this. I get a little bit bored. But we like the end, so I would welcome the opportunity to bring my distribution center experience, interpersonal communication, organization, etc., and my problem-solving approach to North Star Logistics. Thanks for your consideration. So I think this was a fantastic first pass if your goal is to make it tailored to the company and make sure that you pass that ATS system. And then now we know some other prompts that we can do if our goal is to make it a little bit more specific for a human that is reading it. So you have that first pass and that second pass where you can be really specific on your prompting, right? This is the difference between a letter that, mentions the company name and a letter that could pretty much be written only for that company, because employers can tell when you just say, dear hiring manager for North Star Logistics, blah, 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 blah. Everything else is just that copy and paste generic resume. So you do want to include their specific priorities, their mission, the job description, goals, anything you can to show that you took the time to understand what they truly need, and think about your job fit. Check your job fit rating like we talked about on the first episode. So I do want to answer a couple frequently asked questions before we close out for this episode. And then, of course, if you're interested in continuing for our future episodes, make sure you subscribe. So, first question, should I tell the employer that I used AI to help write it? Well, almost nobody asks you, and nobody's expecting a confession. So there's a real difference between presenting yourself well and fabricating something that's not true. So you want to use AI to phrase your real experience convincingly. Don't let it just, invent a project, a title, a number that's not real. You need to be able to really speak to your true experience. But again, if you use AI effectively and then personalize it, humanize it, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to call it out to somebody though. And that effectiveness is going to matter far more than whether you actually use AI or don't use AI. Another good question is, should I write a completely new cover letter for every single job? And this is a great question I get from a lot of people. So you should have a master version with your best foot forward that could, have your 2 or 3 strongest achievements locked in. What changes per application should be the opening line and paragraph that connects your work and experience to their specific priority. So that's why we're doing the 2-pass method. And it's about 10 minutes per application, not an hour. We spent an hour today going through all of this, but that doesn't necessarily mean it takes an hour to apply it. That's for sure. It will be much quicker than that. And it is certainly worth the time to then take your generic cover letter that you submit to everyone and then personalize it for that job. That's what our goal is here. And then I think lastly, the main question that I want to hit on is if this says optional, should I still send one? Do I really need to make a personalized one? Is it even worth my time? And for most roles, yes. Only 1 in 10 hiring managers say they genuinely never read them, and 72% still expect one even when the listing says optional. So you really should only skip it for maybe like high volume, skill tested roles where the post explicitly says don't include one because I'm going to be hiring a lot of people. Oh, okay. It looks like maybe my chat didn't update, so I do want to recognize the people that engaged with the chat for other people. You guys are the best. I can see it now. So, Sir Mikey, thank you. You want me to come back to LCU? You're right, I am a lolcow. I will always be a lolcow at heart. If you're still here, I just appreciate you sharing that and watching my content. Um, I would come back if I was wanted back. I had a lot of fun doing what I did with the lolcow University. I really did. And gained a lot of really helpful experience too. Loved having a community. I also have Love is Forever here, who says that they're trying to learn. They truly want to better their skills and make sure that the application that they submit is effective. And of course, Ruby, I always appreciate you being here and supporting. So thank you to everybody. Make sure that you spend some time trying to apply this information. You can try the D-Robot audit, you can try the company tone match, you can try the human check. 3 prompts in one sitting, maybe you take 20 minutes. And if you do that, I would love for you to share it in the Discord after, before and after, or something like that. And then please join us next time. So again, the danger is not writing a letter, is writing a letter that could have been sent by anyone. We love AI. We want to use AI, but we still want to keep our personality and our personal experience. So at this point, we've covered, is the job a good fit for me? Is my resume effective? Is my cover letter effective? If you're following along and you're checking all of those boxes, you're going to get an interview, man. I believe in you. You're doing all the right things. Like, what else is left to do? But, maybe your job fit analysis and making sure you're a right fit for that job or bridging the gap between your skill set. But hey, let's assume we're all going to start getting way more interviews. So we want to help you with practice interviews. And there's several ways that we can do that, and I will bring my human experience to the table. But we're also going to use AI to help run mock interviews or mock interview questions. And we're going to use that, build a feedback loop on your actual answers. We're going to talk about the exact point where practicing with AI starts building real confidence instead of just helping you memorize lines, right? So we still want to keep that human element. We're just using AI to help us work smarter and not harder. So if you made it this long, you guys are like absolutely the real MVP. You're the best. You've got this. You're going to get all the jobs. And I really look forward to seeing you next week. Again, my name is Melon, and this is Vitality Social Network. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I'm going to switch from my vitamin drink now to my evening relaxation drink. I encourage you to do the same and get some rest. And once we hit that 10 like goal, I'll see you back soon. So take care, everybody. Good night.